All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock for 8 years, Todd. We've been doing this.
2016, however many that is. This could be our eighth or ninth year. We are cruising along for
Wow.
sure.
Nine years we are here to bring leadership to the industry and to bring on amazing guests. Before I bring on today's amazing guest, Todd, anything you want to say to frame the call?
I just real quick want to make sure that those of you who haven't signed up for Scriptapalooza, it's our best free event that we do every year. And shockingly, we still have spaces. It's next Wednesday, October 1st. And so I would encourage you, if you're a leader, to be forwarding out to your crew. But anytime we can have Phil Jones for 2 hours helping some of America's top loan officers improve how they talk, it's a great opportunity. The link is just at the top of Dave's SavageInsights.com. And it's just a great opportunity to be there. I always remind people, show up early because we will have more people who sign up than we have seats in Zoom. And so I hate to bring a commercial this early, Dave, especially when we have Cindy on, but I want to remind people to do that. But I'm just super excited. It's been too long, Cindy, since I've seen you live in person or on Zoom. And so I think this is going to be a treat for our community. I know you always add so much value. And anytime we can have another great leader on like you, it's always awesome. What about you, Deborah Bird?
I was going to say, and another female. We need some more female energy on this show sometimes. So I'm excited to, and just to put a exclamation point on Scriptapalooza, guys. And Todd and Dave, I don't know if y'all intentionally designed this way, but it happens to be the first day of Q4. So, no better way to start, but make sure you time block, save the date, RSVP, and now tune in. So come back, tune in so we can lock in and all learn about the connection code with probably the best human connector I've ever met. And someone I connected with before we even met face to face, Cindy, was you. So I can't wait. I've got my journal. I'm going to be taking lots of notes.
Well, it's always such an honor to be here.
All right, guys. So really make sure you sign up for Scriptapalooza. That is truly going to be an incredible educational experience. And if you are a manager, a coach, a leader of other loan officers, give them a push. Make sure they sign up for Scriptapalooza. We'll probably mention it again at some point in the call. But guys, no better time than right now for Cindy Ertman. I mean, she's truly been a leader in the mortgage industry for multiple decades. She's always defined what it means to be more than a loan officer, but to really be an advisor to both consumers and to realtors. And now she's a coach. She's a coach and leader to some of the best mortgage professionals in America. I had the opportunity to speak at what did you call your summit that I spoke at?
It's my Mortgage Mastermind Elite.
Mortgage Mastermind Alert Elite. And it was truly some of the just not only incredibly successful people in a room, but like some of the best human beings in a room. So she's really built an incredible community. So anytime we could get Cindy in here to share best practices, deliver a message, this is mastermind style. So if you have a question for Cindy, put it down below. But I mean, this is literally one of the top mortgage professionals to ever live in America and a good personal friend. Welcome, Cindy.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Dave. Always so much fun. I mean, I was thinking about it today, Deb. It's like I have such a connection to you all, and you feel like family to me, and that's what happens, when you really build deep relationship with people. So it's just a gift to be here. And Dave, you're like a brother to me. And Deb, I feel like the time that you spent in my family room at my mastermind, pouring into our coaching clients, you and I bonded at a really deep level. And that's what this conversation is about today, right? How do we really bring that to fruition in our daily life?
Well, you picked the headline. So this is a Cindy Ertman headline, and she is very thoughtful about how she teaches and leads, how she titles it, but it's the 30-minute connection code. So first of all, like, what does that mean? Like, what is describe that, and why did you come up with that?
Well, this may sound actually kind of surprising. This came about actually, Dave, just a couple weeks ago because I teach a much bigger training. That's one of my core signature trainings called Connection to Conversion. I've been teaching that for many years, and it's how to help mortgage professionals really conduct a first meeting with, let's say, a realtor, right? It's you can do it with any kind of referral partner. But people are always saying to me, I don't know what to say. In fact, I got a text message yesterday from one of my elite clients saying, oh my gosh, I used your strategy. I got 3 meetings with new realtors. what the heck do I say? And she's been in business 20 years. And she's like, I don't know what to say. It's been a long time since I've met with a new realtor. So my connection to conversion strategy I built so that I never had to think about what I was going to say in a first meeting. I built systems that are replicatable, and that's what I really want to hit home here today. But the key to being successful in mortgage, and when I look at being able to drive my own personal production to over 200 million, the reality is that was a lot of relationships that were developed. And we study so many other things, right? We've got so much pulling at us from technology and our LOS systems and our CRM systems. And now we have this great thing called AI. But the reality is, most people don't study personal development and personal relationships. And it's really what creates our success. So I spent a lot of time taking classes, reading books on the subject of relatability. I'm working on a book called The Relatability Factor because I think it's such a big deal in the way that we build connection with people. And so I got obsessed with this feeling of, if the one with the most friends wins, legitimately relationships wins this game, then how can we build relationship more intentionally and be able to really, if we're meeting with someone on short order, how can we build relationship really quickly? So I came up with a formula initially called connection to conversion, which I used over and over and over again, and my clients use it in a first realtor meeting. Like if you're at lunch and you've got an hour and a half and you can go deep with someone, it changes the game on the way you connect. But what I found over the last few months for myself is I've been meeting with amazing national leaders of national mortgage banks. And if I'm lucky to get 30 minutes with them on Zoom, right? And I started realizing what was happening is I had sort of converted the strategy into like a 30-minute connection code. And I wasn't doing it initially intentionally, but I realized it's the same formula that I use even when I get on the phone with a potential client that I'm meeting. And I do that weekly, who's, calling in to check in about coaching. And I thought, because it's the same thing, I've only got a few minutes to connect with a total stranger, and I want to get to know them at a core level, and I want them to know a little bit about me. So that's where this came about, because I had a situation, I'm not going to name a name, but a major national leader a couple weeks ago. I'm on a Zoom call. I was referred in by someone on the board of the NBA to this person, and not particularly a warm and fuzzy human, So, I mean, I had to like a very corporate human that I'm on the phone with, but a big, big name in our industry. And so, but I'm like, how am I going to break through to this person really quickly? I've got 30 minutes to make an impression here and get to know this person. So I started going through my little formula in my head, and the coolest thing happened at the end of that 30 minutes. And he says, you know what? He goes, I don't know why we've never met, but now I just feel like I want to hang out with you. And I was like, that's really what we want to drive towards. We want to then, what's the next opportunity to have a conversation? Because if we don't connect in that first meeting, we don't have the opportunity to build real partnership with people. So that's where it was sort of birthed from, is to be able to have a framework to give people to learn it, study it, go into a meeting. I promise you it'll change the game on your ability to connect with people in really short order.
Cool. So let's do this. I'm going to ask one more question. And by the way, when I ask this question, it's to the audience and to Cindy, because I want you guys to answer it, but I want to hear Cindy's answer. And then Todd, let's go you next. Next question, Deb, and we'll just go around. If we see a question come in from the audience, whoever's next, let's make sure we include that. But Cindy, we're in preparation for Scriptapalooza next week. We asked in calls like this, what are the most important conversations? Like, who is it? A builder? Is it a realtor? Is it your database? And we wanted to build it around like the 5 most important conversations and the biggest problems. But what are you seeing as some of the biggest challenges people are having right now in the market? And then everybody on this call, I would love for you to just share, like, if you have a biggest challenge as an originator that you're facing, please, multiple people, tell us what your biggest challenge is. It'll help us tailor this conversation. But what do you think the biggest challenges are?
Well, I mean, I see it clearly and daily. Something happened during that experience of COVID, for real. I think we got so safe hiding behind our screens, and something has transitioned where There's been so much fear in this compressed market over the last 3 years. People's mindsets have been impacted in a really big way. And I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, we all see it. It's kind of become a global pandemic in and of itself, is, really trying to get that mindset back in a place where we're really serving others at a high level. But I hear it daily, and even people you would not think that have fear around picking up the phone. They're afraid to get out in front of people again. They don't know what to say. They've lost their edge. A lot of loan officers, realtor partners got out of the business, or they're not doing business anymore. And I get a lot of calls from people going, how, I've been in this business 25 years. Half my realtors have left the business. I'm not generating enough income for my family. I don't even know where to start to build relationship again. So I've always felt that one of my superpowers is relationship development, helping people build referral partners, because that's my jam, and I've studied it and I know how to connect with people and I love it so much. Like it's at the core of my joy factor. So I spend a lot of time teaching our clients really how to connect by giving them not just scripts, but ways of being in the world and ways of showing up. And the other thing that has prompted a new webinar I'm going to lead for free next week is because I had 5 clients within 2 weeks that said to me, and I mean big clients, people that are doing a lot of production. And one of the guys said to me, it was kind of the catalyst. He said, Cindy, I just had an amazing meeting with the top realtor team. This was down in Florida. And he goes, I walked away from the meeting, had a great connection. He goes, I get back to my office. He's running a region. He's an originator. He's got all these loan officers working for him. And he goes, I realized a week had gone by. I have no follow-up campaign whatsoever. And this has happened numerous times. People do not have a follow-up system, so they're losing the opportunity. So my webinar is providing a follow-up formula for people to be able to build relationship, because you get that opportunity, but if you don't have a system for follow-up, it just completely falls flat. So, I mean, to me, this is a relationship business. So taking some time to build systems that are replicatable so you can show up consistently is what really builds partnership. We can meet all the people in the world, but if we're not building a real partnership and pouring value into people for real by caring about their goals and their success, it just goes flat. And this business, we don't have the opportunity to grow without building and growing our relationships. It's first and foremost for me.
I think that's so true, right? Yeah, you always rise to the what's that quote? I don't even know. You rise to your systems, whatever. You fail at your systems, whatever that fancy quote is. But I love it that you call it your 30-minute connection code, right? Dave's all about code. So kind of where does that start? Can you give us kind of a launch point for loan officers on how to look at your code?
Yeah, and I'll share my guide, which I'll share with you guys too. But and I'll kind of walk you through the framework here in just a minute. But I mean, I think there's 3 main components to building a relationship. And one, this is part of my connection to conversion. It's the curiosity factor. And, when I got on this meeting a couple of weeks ago with this big national leader, the first question I ask is, so tell me about you. Tell me about your history. I want to hear about your journey. And that fuels my soul. Like I genuinely am curious and interested. So curiosity, I think, is one of the number one things in building a relationship. When I go into a meeting with someone I've not met, whether I'm on a Zoom call or phone call, the number one thing I want to know is tell me about you. I never go into who I am, what I do, my experience level, my success level. It doesn't even enter my mind. All that enters my mind is, I'm curious about you. Tell me about you. Tell me about your history. How long have you been in this business, and walk me through your journey? So that's where I always start. So curiosity is huge. And then care. And I'll have loan offers say to me, well, I care deeply about my clients and my referral partners. And I'm like, well, that's great. But as a differentiator, how is that really coming across? Because care is really number 2 in terms of key component to really build a relationship. But it's care about their goals and their success. I want to make you more successful, Mr. Realtor. My commitment is to help you be more successful this year. Let's meet and talk about your marketing strategy. Let's meet and talk about your database management strategy. I'm going to help you be more successful at your open houses. I have a strategy around that. So everything that I did to build realtor partnership was to pour into their success. And in turn, I became more successful. So that's number two. And then number three is consistency. That's where having the formula or having the code or having this system. And I don't even think I knew it when I was doing it, but I built systems for everything because I couldn't scale the business without it. So if I came back from a real estate meeting, I had a system for, I handed to my assistant their business card, and then I had a follow-up formula. So it set in motion the formula, right? They got a handwritten note the second I got back from that meeting. I sent them my contact information so they had it exactly in their phone, exactly how I wanted them to see it with all of my contacts. I had a system for follow-up. A week later, a book went out with a handwritten note on the inside. So I'll jump in here and share this really quickly, and I'll just walk you through it and then for a minute here. But the
Hey,
thing
real
is,
quick,
go ahead,
Cindy,
jump in.
I want to just inject something really quick, guys, because I love it. By the way, I loved that you call it the code, and I'm currently writing a book called,
I know you
I
are.
don't know if I'm going to call it the Savage Code or Know Your Code. When I spoke at your event, Cindy, I was going with Know Your Code, but I'm getting a lot of pressure to use my name
I like it.
and call it the Savage Code. But I want, as Cindy walks through this, she called out, and by the way, she shared her code. Curiosity comes first, like that. Those were her words. And I find that a lot of elite successful people have curiosity comes first. And it's not just a belief, they execute. Care about their goals and success, short term and long term. This is part of her code. When she talks about consistency, I want everybody to, like, as you go through this and take notes, like almost unpack Cindy's code and then kind of mirror yours. Like, what's my code? Because I have, what I have found since I've started this code adventure is that the loan officers and the people that kill it, they have a great code and they're really killing it in execution on that code. And the people that don't, they're missing something. Like when, oh, I know I should do that, but I'm old school. Well, you're missing. There's something in your code that's not. It's either missing, or you know what, you have that code, but you're not living it. So I really want to make sure that as Cindy goes through this, you're documenting Cindy's code, and then you're connecting it to your code. Anyways, keep going.
Absolutely, Dave. And I think it's a matter just adopt this for what feels right for you, right? But just having a system, or a formula, because, this is one of my all-time favorite quotes by Maya Angelou, just because people don't remember what you do. They remember how you make them feel. So that's another one of the things when I'm going into a meeting, because I went on a big journey in 2009 after I had met Jack Canfield at Mastermind Summit in 2006, who wrote all the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I ended up training with Jack. Everyone thought I was nuts in 2003, running $1 billion branch, being one of the top originators in the nation, raising 3 kids, and doing a year-long training with 100 trainers from all over the world. And we spent 3 physical weeks together. But those kind of journeys and personal development changed my life. And it changed my business. And I bring a lot of that work into my trainings now, because to teach people how to show up in the world differently and how to be different is what really moves the needle in such a meaningful way. So what I usually typically do is I do start with an honoring statement. If you're meeting with someone, learn a little bit about them. I will typically, like, some of the people obviously that I meet with, I know a lot about, but if I'm meeting with a leader that just happened last week that I don't really know, I Googled, I listened to some shorts, some YouTube shorts. I learned a little bit about this person. So I had a sense of who they were. So I could really speak to that in the meeting. So first of all, I do like to kind of start with an honoring statement, or to honor if it's somebody like Dave Savage, right? Like, I know Dave, he's a personal friend, and I'm so grateful for who he is in our industry. I can speak from the heart to really honor him for what he has done to pour into our community for all these years. So I just start with authentic appreciation. If I'm meeting with a realtor and I know that they're successful, probably not meeting with them if they're not. But if I'm meeting with somebody that has built a certain level of success, I'll just set the tone by saying, hey, I'm just really impressed with what you've created. And sometimes if I'm trying to get a meeting, I will say things like, Look, I just think great leaders need to know great leaders. So whether we work together or not, I still would love to know a little bit more about how you've built this level of success, because I find it really remarkable what you've created in our local market. And that honors people, so it kind of sets you apart. And then I never jump in as a mortgage originator, never once ever did I jump into who I work for, what I do, my success level, my pricing, my products, my programs, ever. And I will tell you some of the biggest opportunities I ever received, including an in-house lending position for a very large real estate company. I went through that meeting with an owner of a company that had never met me, and I had never once shared anything about my company, my background, my past, my programs, my products. All I did was ask quality questions to the person sitting across the room from me. And at the end of that meeting, he said, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm launching a new real estate company. I've got 30 people coming on board. We're launching in the next 25 days. Would you consider coming in as my in-house lender? And that just went to show me that it's a building relationship that wins a game here. And I studied it. So I wanted to give you kind of a framework. And then next, like I said, the curiosity factor is ask about their story. If any of you were to sign up to have a mortgage success call with me, the first thing that I do is I want to learn about you. What's been your journey in the mortgage industry? I love to hear it because we all got in this by accident, right? So there's a story there for everybody. And that just, it sets the stage for who you've become, to know a little bit about your journey. And it tells me a lot when you share your story. So I don't care if I'm on the phone with a president of a national mortgage bank or a CEO. I've done it with hundreds of, very high level leaders, is to just say, tell me your story. I want to know about your journey, not just how you got into this business, but look at what you've created. I'd love to learn more about you, and just give them the stage to share their journey. So that is something that I do inherently, but it is part of every conversation. And then, it's fun to be able to reflect back. So conscious listening, right? I mean, you want to be able to reflect back. And then I like to tap into people when people are talking, to listen about some of the things you can tell in their voice inflection, what they're passionate about. I like to tap into, tell me what you love the most about the mortgage business right now. And sometimes people say, well, I'm not feeling that excited or passionate about it right now. Maybe that's part of the problem, right? A lot of people have had a pretty rough season. So, but I like to tap into what lights them up. What gets you excited about being a realtor right now? What is it that you love about this industry? As a leader in the mortgage industry, what is something that you're super passionate about right now for your people? So I will consciously go into something that they are passionate about. And the other thing that I'm trying to do here in this short exchange is I'm trying to tap into something similar where we have some kind of common ground. And if you're listening carefully and you get them talking about your story, you can usually find something where you have a common interest. And then I kind of tap into that. I will lob onto that, or maybe to tell me a little bit more about that. I always call it clarifying questions. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You moved from Manhattan, New York to Manhattan Beach, California. Talk to me about that. That was a big move. How did that feel for you? So, and then I'll get into maybe asking them, if they're a realtor, about what their greatest strengths are. Talk to me about your greatest strengths. What is it that's, that you're really great at? Why does somebody pick you? Because that's a really deep conversation. They have to think about what their greatest strengths are. And then next, this is where I will consciously, and I know this is hard for some people. I hear people tell me all the time, I don't like sharing a lot about my personal life in business. And I'm like, well, get over it, because that's what forms connection. And Deb, I remember a time when you and I were sitting next to each other and you shared a very deep part of your story. And I will never forget how I felt in that moment of connecting with you. And whether you like it or not, I will feel connected to you for life. I just do, because we
Sure
had
hope
a
so. I
I
need
had
Cindy
a
in my
moment
life.
of deep connection, because we shared a really important part of our personal story. But I was on the phone with somebody from the MBA last week, and I don't remember exactly what prompted this particular story. Um, but this person is heading towards retirement. and gave some real deep reasons as to why. There's some things going on personally regarding health, so we started talking about relationship and marriage. It just sort of naturally went there, even though I'm in a 30-minute big business conversation. And I shared a brief moment about the challenge of my 30-year marriage ending. And we had a moment of connection where I shared something very personal. And then what that does is it gives that person permission to share something personal back with you. And it takes you out of being connected strictly from a head mental work conversation into something that connects you. And so she then shared a deeper level of what was going on with her husband and why she was moving in that direction, wanting to spend more time. And there was this deep moment, 5 minutes probably, of a really special part of a conversation. I had a huge meeting yesterday with a leader of one of the top mortgage banks in America. We had a very similar experience together. We got very real because what it does is it creates trust because most people don't have those conversations day to day. So I want you to just think about it doesn't have to be something like a divorce, but we've all gone through, like, sometimes I'll share the story of when we had to close down our national mortgage bank in 2007 and lay off 135 people. I mean, that was one of the biggest traumatic experiences in mortgage in my life, right? And it was very real, and I will carry that forth with me forever. So just feel safe enough to share something about you personally and allow somebody else to reflect back. Either they'll respond to you or they'll share their own story, but it gives people permission to share something personal if you lead by example. Does that make sense? And then the final thing is really just to set the stage for the next opportunity. Because where I really got the biggest traction when I was meeting with realtors, my bigger training called Connection to Conversion Part 1, and then there's Part 2. And every time I send someone Part 2, they're like, can you please give me Part 1? But the reality is we want to set the stage for the next connection, because when I was meeting with realtors, I could almost guarantee that I would get them to a yes to work with me by meeting 2. I didn't ever push to get that connection or that commitment in meeting 3. I wanted to be there strictly for the purpose of connecting and building a relationship, or building the start of a relationship that was based on trust, because trust is my number one value. And I also say, put words to the things that you value, because I said to a leader yesterday, and this is emotional a little bit for me, and Dave, you know me well. But I said to this leader, look, I know you've got a lot of confidants around you. I know you have a lot of people that you lead, and you've got a lot of, you have really amazing, bright people around you. However, if you ever need a confidant, because I'm a vault, if you ever need a confidant, if you ever want to share an idea, if you ever want to talk through a challenge, you have my cell phone. I want you to call, because you can trust me with your life. And you know what he said? He's like, no one has ever said that to me before. And he goes, I may take you up on that. And he's one of the biggest leaders in America. But how many times do the people at the top not have the safe space, right? So be that person for people. Offer to be, a partner for them. Hey, I'm here for you. If I can help you build your business in any way, if I can help you take it to the next level, if you want to meet and go through goal planning, I'd love to be a partner in your success. And then set the stage for something like I wrote this script. I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface. Would you be open to meeting again in a couple of weeks? Because I'd love to continue the conversation and talk about ways that we might be able to support each other's business. Because you know what, Dave, I'd just love to help you grow. Anything I could do to help you be more successful, I'd be honored. So maybe we meet in a couple of weeks and we pick up this conversation. Or how about we meet in a couple of weeks and let's talk through your marketing strategy. I love helping my realtor partners talk through their marketing strategy. And maybe I could give you some ideas of what some of my other realtor partners are doing to build and grow their business. Would you be open to that? Guess what? They're sitting right across from you. They usually say, yes, I would love another opportunity to talk to you. So, and then it's a matter of, then we want to make sure that you we got to go into a little bit of action, right? We want to make sure that we carry this forth because that's the key here. So here's just a little cheat sheet at the end, which is just the 6 kind of things that I touch on when I'm trying to build a relationship very quickly, which lately, because everybody's so busy, we don't have a lot of time to build connection. We got to stand out from the crowd. And I promise you, if you practice this and really get some heart into it and not just go in, before I go into a meeting, I did it this morning, y'all, to come to this. I actually do a meditation and I ask for the right words to be fueled through me and to allow me to connect at a deeper level, because that is what's most important to me. Is I really want to be able to make an impact in people's lives and help them become the best version of themselves. And I just want to throw this up there. If anybody wants to learn more, we have 3 different programs. We have 3 programs for 3 different budgets on all different levels. I'm passionate about helping mortgage professionals grow in a way that suits you. It's not a one size fits all program, but I'd love the opportunity to just have a conversation and talk about what your challenges are and learn a little bit about your story, because that's what fuels me. And if I can help people get to that next level of success, or, take on 10 new referral partners and build their business and change their lives for their families, it's just like when I was originator and changing people's lives through home ownership. It's all about growth. So with that, I will unshare here and love to
Deborah,
open the
you're
conversation.
up. I got a lot to say and unpack and mastermind around, but Deborah.
So my first, like, this is phenomenal. And I think it is the super glue that is just that brand loyalty with your partners, also within your teams. Like, immediately I started to think about some of the conversations I've had recently with loan officers or, producing branch managers who are struggling with either motivating their team. And it could be operations, it could be sales. And so the power in this formula of just connecting and truly, I don't mean like connecting like we do through social media. And I think
Right.
that's the thing is, so many of us are so visible, but yet
Yes.
also so unseen at the same time. And so my question is, I struggle with the capacity that once you have all these great conversations and we have a pretty dialed in system, but then, to keep the relationship going. And you guys all know, if you call me, I usually don't answer, but you text me, I respond. And so I'm just thinking with the different generations now, even in the workplace, and how to maintain the connection and relationship when you might be a leader who has not only LOs and a team, but also, partnerships that you're developing. I figured you would be the best one to ask because you've been doing this for so long and you have so many connections. Like, how do you keep up with it all?
Well, I have systems and I have the right team, and I like, it's a team sport, y'all. And I mean, sometimes the best advice I can give someone is, you may not think you can afford to hire somebody to help support your business, like an admin. Sometimes hiring an admin changes your life, because Dave, I remember when you hired Paul, right? Like, it can change your life, right?
Thank
When
you,
you have,
Paul.
Let's
yeah,
go,
no,
Paul.
seriously. It's a big deal, I remember. So, but sometimes hiring that admin, I remember thinking that I needed to hire another LOA on my team because I was so overwhelmed. And then I tracked my time for 2 days. And this is a silly exercise, but it worked. Like, it changed my life. I tracked my time for 2 days, everything, single thing, from walking my dog to being on social media to everything that I did. I tracked it for 2 days and I put a plus and a minus next to everything I did. I'm like, okay, did this fuel me or did this deplete me? And through that exercise, I realized that I needed an administrative assistant, not an LOA. And I thought I couldn't afford it, but I couldn't not afford it because it didn't allow me to do the follow-up that I needed to do with my client base, even my friends, managing my life. It took a lot off my plate so I could focus on the things that mattered most. So when I was at work, I could actually be there and show up for people because I didn't have to be researching my plane fare, and I didn't have to be going to the grocery store. And so I did. Sometimes you just have to write the check to get the help that you need to be able to. And then just taking some time. People think it takes so much time to build a system. I could sit with you in a room for an hour and map out a system. I'm going to give you a system and I don't know if Danielle may not have the ability to put but I can get it to you, Dave. I'll put it into the Facebook group. But the webinar that I'm doing on the 1st October, that we're going to give you a follow-up plan for your realtor partners, because having a system that you don't have to necessarily implement, get your LOA involved in helping if you have a support person. But it's true, Deb, it's like we can't do everything ourselves. And I probably have always ran a little bit on the larger team side than I should, because that level of customer service and relationship development skill, my number one thing with my team is if a client reaches out or someone reaches out to inquire, they better get a response quickly, like within 2 hours, because that's our lifeblood, is our relationships. And we've all been there when people don't respond and I can't get calls back from people. We all have them in our life. And then you start to feel like, well, they don't really care about me. They just don't. They're too busy for me, right? And I don't want to ever be too busy. I want to make sure that somebody on the team can at least acknowledge, hey, we got your message. We'll get this in front of Cindy or we'll get back in touch. But sometimes it really is hiring the right team to support you.
So I want to ask a question that, and you sort of went down this path, but I want to get like some like ideas today that people can put into action tomorrow. And then I know part of the answer is going to be sign up for Cindy's next call that she told you about. There'll be a link down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the link down below. But Justin put a message here in chat. He said, getting new realtor meetings with me tends to be easy enough. So, and I know there's a lot of loan officers. Yeah, I can get the meetings, but getting them to actually start sending me referrals, even when the meeting went really well. So like, let's assume you had this killer meeting, they loved you, seems to be the biggest challenge at the moment. And so if you could speak directly to Justin in a way that like, okay, I can put that into action this weekend, or I can put that into action on Monday. What are your thoughts?
Well, Justin, it's a great question. And it's been coming up a lot. For me, the reason I built Connection and Conversion was to solve for that, right? Because I have the same issue. So what I started doing with my Connection and Conversion, which you can use this strategy as your first meeting strategy, obviously, with the connector code. But what I would go into the first meeting, Justin, having a game plan for the outcome, because most people just go to a great meeting, but they didn't go into the meeting wanting an outcome. They didn't know what the outcome is. They wanted to connect, obviously. Every single time I went to a first meeting with a realtor, my outcome was to get the second meeting, because the easiest time to get it is when you're sitting right across from them and you're at the first meeting, because they're going to have a hard time saying no to you if you've connected, right? So I did one of my strategies and I used it over and over and over again, because my Connection to Conversion part 2 is a marketing strategy meeting. So let's say you're out with the realtor. I'll just pretend it's you, Justin, and I'm sitting across from you and I've just led my Connection to Conversion meeting with you and I've asked the questions and we've kind of bonded, and I'd just be, hey, you know what, Justin? One of the things that I do for my top referring realtor partners is I love to meet with them a couple of times a year to talk about their marketing strategy, because marketing and expanding your reach is such a big deal in terms of expanding your success. If you're open to it, I would love to get together in a couple of weeks, maybe just for 30 minutes over a cup of coffee, and let's talk through your marketing strategy. Maybe I could give you some suggestions for ways to expand your reach in the marketplace right now, and I could share some things that some of the other partners that I'm working with are getting traction on. But I love having a marketing conversation. Would you be open to that? I just would love to share some ideas I have that might really help you expand your business this year. And what do you think they say? They're
Yes.
all in. They're like, yes, please. Yes, please. So then I schedule that meeting. I don't usually I don't usually put it in my calendar right then. I just said, hey, I'll reach out to you in a couple of days. We'll get it on the schedule for the next 2 weeks. Then I go back. Then I write a handwritten thank you note. I send it off. Then I call them. I ask for the meeting. I get it scheduled. Then I go to the meeting. I take them like a journal, or I take them a gratitude journal, or I take them a book, or I take them a little something that I leave behind, something that I think would be meaningful. And then I go through my 12 marketing questions about what they're doing to market their business. And it's not about me being a marketing expert. Nobody has to be a marketing expert. It's just opening up the quality questions so that you're engaging and creating collaboration and building a relationship. And then I won't go into it today, but I have another strategy called if when that I use in that second meeting. And really the basis, well, I'll give you the framework of that quickly, but the basis of that is get clear on your three greatest strengths before you go into that meeting. And then you can weave those into the conversations by saying, you know what, Justin, if we have the opportunity to work together, one of the things my realtor partners love about working with our team is my 10-point milestone communication plan, because you're never going to have to worry about hearing from us in the status of a loan. And it's just something that we put together to give our realtor partners comfort and trust that we're on track with the loan. So you will know every step of the way because we have a system and a plan around communication. And then we just go on with our conversation. Then later in, I'll weave in a number if we have an opportunity to work together, Dave. Then one of the things my partners love about working with us is we get 80% of our clients formally approved in Manhattan Beach because 40% of our business is all cash. So we got to be able to help you win against all cash. So we're going to get 80% of our borrowers fully approved so we can win against all cash, and we do it every single day. So I'm going to tap into things that I know are important to you in my if, and then I go into win. Look, when we have the opportunity to work together, so I go into an assumptive close of when. And then usually by the end of that meeting, they've already self-selected and go, when can we do this again? I want them to self-select in because I provided so much value that I've blown away their other mortgage originator that they work with.
I
All
just
right.
love that.
Here's what I want to do. So first of all, great question. One, I'm going to make sure that question gets added to Scriptapalooza. So within the 15-minute part where we're talking about how to win with realtors, we'll see what Phil Jones has to say for that. Let's check it out. Also, first of all, we put a link to Cindy's event. Make sure you go to that. So there's a link to that. And then I also just put a link to a script from the Uncommon LO. This is a new community that I started this week. If you haven't started following it, start following it. But Daniel Saw, like the link I put in is a little 1-minute Daniel Saw script. And he talks about his value prop with realtors right now is that when you give me a referral, I'm going to get people super excited about buying a home right now. And I'm going to coach them on a process to win in multiple offer scenarios. Now, by the way, maybe multiple offer scenarios is not the biggest pain point. So you might plug in today's market. I'm going to get them super excited to write a winning offer. So my answer to you is that part of your relationship with that realtor, they're not referring you to like do you a favor. Like if you are like, I'm trying to win your trust, your respect, and like, come on, give me one. You need to position yourself so that they see you as someone that if they refer it to you, they're going to have a better customer. It's going to write a higher offer. It's got a better chance of winning. They're going to see you as someone who is going to get them more referrals, more conversion, or more referrals. So my answer to you, Justin, is first of all, everything Cindy said, everything I said. And then, by the way, there's a whole lot more that we could unpack. Like, what you have is one of the biggest challenges. There's no one answer, but there's a lot of little things that will turn you into a very referable LO. But by the way, guys, make sure you follow the Uncommon LO. It's on TikTok and Instagram. And if you're a manager, get all your loan officers following it because it's all about how to win in this market. Todd, you're up. Questions, comments, thoughts for Cindy?
Well, first off, I had to Google my quote that I screwed up before. It's "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems" by James Clear. I was like, all right, I was just losing my mind.
Wait a minute. So by the way, everybody, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that Todd would not let that quote go by. So like I've been doing life with this guy long enough to like what just happened, I knew was going to happen.
I love
that's
it.
just a perfect example of is speaking before you think, right? That just happens all the time to all of us who act as LOs as a day job.
Or of y'all's bromance that just unfolded right here in
No,
front
but
of us.
dude, I literally, when I said, hey, it's your turn, in my head, I go, I bet you he's going to get that quote right from earlier. Like I literally like thought
That's so funny.
Yeah. That I think that's great. I think there's a couple of burning questions. LOs for some reason always want to cold call realtors to get this appointment. I'm a big believer in warm calls, but what's your suggestion to people who are struggling? You already talked about mindset, but what's your secret sauce? Because I know you have it to get to this appointment with the real estate agent.
So you're talking about like cold calls versus warm calling,
Or just whatever. What's that script or that conversation going to look like when you're calling the agent so that you can get this 30-minute meeting with them?
well, one of the things that I always love to do is I teach this a lot, is really starting with your own network, right? Because people do not tap into their own network like they should. So, I mean, one of my trainings, and I have all the scripting and all the exactly how to, bring it to fruition, but it's pretty simple to just make a list of 5 people that already know, like, and trust you, and call the 5 people and go, hey, Todd, you know how much I appreciate you as a referral partner. You know that we have such a great relationship. We love working with you. Like, you're one of our absolute favorite referral partners that we work with. And I'm really looking to expand my business this year. I would love your help. Obviously, you know a lot of people in our local market, but who are a couple realtors that you really know, like, and respect? I mean, you've been in this business a long time. I would love to get a couple of names from you of people that you think would benefit from knowing me, because I'm really looking to expand my reach and expand my business this year. Could I get a couple names from you? And then I have strategies why I don't let them off the phone till they give me the names and all that. But the first time I tested this theory, and it's definitely a core training of mine, is I called 5 people. I ended up with 18 names. And I ended up with probably 11 new referral partners, because I got the meeting because these were referred by people that he knew, like, and trusted, right? So it's really amazing to tap into your current relationships. And even if you don't have 5 relationships with realtors, if you're newer, call any business person. Every business person knows a realtor, right? They just do. So just tap into your network and say, hey, I'm looking to expand my reach. Will you help me? Because a lot of times people don't want to ask for help. I don't know what it is. There's this thing, but guess what? If you ask for help, people ask me for help all the time. I want to help people. So if you ask a realtor, hey, we've been working together. I really value you. I respect you so much. I really want to expand my business. Could you give me a couple of names to help me expand my reach this year? I really want to expand my business, and I would trust your recommendations. And then, of course, you call that person and you gloat about how much this person referred them, and ask to get a short meeting with them to learn more about themselves and their business. And it worked for me every time.
Cindy, we had a question in the chat asking how does the formula change, or does it change when you're looking to reconnect with realtor partners that you've drifted apart from, and you already know they're like, tell me a little bit about you,
What's interesting, Deb, is my experience is that, and there's 2 ways you could do it, but my experience is that a lot of times the questions in the original formula, you don't know the answers to with your realtor partners because you've never asked the questions. Like, if my connection to conversion training is a little deeper, it's 40 questions to ask a realtor, and it's a formula. And you can ask 20 of them if you have a shorter order, but that is written in a sequence to be able to get them to open up to you in a big way. So that's a much more detailed as a first meeting strategy if you've got a little more time and, like, you're buying them lunch or something. But the other thing is our connection to conversion part 2, which is just a series of marketing questions, is also a great way to reconnect. Because if you called a realtor right now that maybe you have a relationship with, but you feel a little disconnected from, you could call them up and say, hey, you know what? I was thinking about you today, because one of the things that I really love to do, and you and I have not done this together, is to really meet with some of our top partners and talk about your marketing strategy. And I was thinking it could be a really good meeting for us to sit down. Let's grab a cup of coffee and let's talk through what your marketing strategy is right now, because I'd really love to help you be more successful this year. And they will usually say yes to that. So you could either do it through having a marketing strategy session. And again, my training has just got 12 marketing questions to get them to open up. And, like, I'm going to give you an example. So this happens a lot. I'll ask a realtor, I'll say, so talk to me about your database management. Do you have a CRM? Are you staying in touch with your past clients consistently? How do you communicate with your past clients? Realtors are way worse than mortgage professionals. So many
I was
times,
going to say, are they like what database?
most of the time they say, oh, I have one or I have access to one and I just don't use it. So like I will land there for a bit because 30% of my income every year after year after year was because I was great with my database management. That's an expertise of mine. So I'll pour into them about that. And then I'll say things like, you know what, Deborah, let me go back to my office. Let me do some research for you. I'm going to research some of the best CRM systems for realtors. And I'm going to be your accountability partner. I can't do this for you, but I'm going to send you a couple of links and I'm going to really recommend that you get a system, that you hire somebody like I did for $15 an hour at the junior college to come over and help you set it up. And then let's get this database management system set up because you're leaving revenue on the table. You're not communicating in the way that you should. And if we could get this database system operational for you, it will elevate your income in the years to come. So I might use that as my hook, right? And I'll go do some research, which is just you go Google or I call my title guy or whatever, call a couple realtors and just say, hey, what do you love? So that's one thing. I'll tap into something. Let's talk about social media. What are you doing to market your business on social? How much you're using video in your marketing today? And they're like, oh, I hate video. I know I need to do more. Well, you know what? I need to do more too. How about I've done this seriously many, many times. How about I come over, we schedule a meeting. I can help you come up with like 10 different topics. We can do 10 1-minute videos. I'll help you script them. Chat GPT, we can do it in 5 minutes. And then I'll record them and we can get you some new content out. Like we could do it together. And they'll be like, oh my God, that would be horrifying. I'm like, I don't care. Let's just do it. Let's get over yourself. So you can create value, right? You're pouring into them. You're offering suggestions for ways to market their business. That's how we create value. And you can get a meeting with almost anybody to talk about their marketing strategy and offering to help support them in meaningful ways.
So Todd, any other questions? We're in the last 8 minutes. Any other questions?
Well, you already kind of mentioned one of the mistakes is that loan officers get to these meetings and they start with talking about themselves, right? Show up and throw up. What other mistakes do you see loan officers make when they're having these conversations with real estate agent prospects?
Well, I had many people tell me this literally happened 2 weeks ago, and I was like mortified. This guy's been in business a long time. But he said he was working with my connection to conversion strategy. He's practicing it. And then he said it didn't work. And I go, well, tell me about that. He goes, well, I got to the end of the meeting and I asked him if he'd be willing to give me his next 3 deals. I'm like, what? Like, you haven't earned the right to ask for their business yet, right? Like, that is just way too soon. And it's like if you're recruiting somebody and you go for the close in the very first meeting, right? It just doesn't work. Like, what I try to teach people is you got to build the relationship first, and you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about all of your special gifts and all the great things you can do for them. But I certainly you don't want to go into that meeting asking for the business. You want to go into that meeting with the true intent of getting to know about them, what their special sauce is, what are their special gifts. And that's where connection to conversion, with having the questions at your fingertips, so you don't have to think about what to say. But yes, I mean, talking about products and programs, but you have not earned the right to ask for their business. So don't do it in a first meeting. What you want to do is end on, like the framework says, end on that. Like, this has been amazing. Like, Todd, if I'm sitting across from you and we're having a first meeting, I'd be like, I can't even tell you how great it was to actually meet you face to face. And I'm super grateful that you said yes to this meeting. And I can already tell there's a lot more for you and I to unpack. There's a lot more that I would like to know about you, Todd. I just think there's a lot more to your story. And if you would be open to it, I would love to get another meeting scheduled. I'd like to talk to you. And again, whether you want to do the marketing strategy but you've clearly been doing this a long time. And I think there's a lot of wisdom for people that have been in the real estate industry as long as you have. I'd love to learn from you. I'm sure there's a lot of things I could learn. And there's some things that through this conversation, I think I could really share with you that would be very meaningful for you. Would you be open to continuing this conversation? Now, that's just a very heartfelt way of saying, I really want to meet with you again. And the experiences I've had through connection to conversion in meetings with real estate partners, if I had a lot of time, I could tell you a lot of stories, but the very first time I tested it, the very first time I did it as a strategy, I left that meeting. There is a question in my connection to conversion that I ask. It's not in this framework that I'm giving you today. But for my connection to conversion, there is a question that I ask by design at the end of every meeting if I'm meeting with a new realtor, as an example. Because if you've asked all the other questions first and you've gotten them to open up a little bit, and then you ask the magic question at the end, which is, Deb, what's one of the biggest challenges you've ever had to overcome in your life or your business? That's a big question. And just like what you're doing right now, you're thinking about what that answer would be. And is it going to be something really personal you're going to share with me? Is it going to be something top shelf you're going to share? Because you're thinking, how deep do I go here? Because that's a deep question to answer. But the thing is I've done my connection and conversion strategy, or I've opened up the door even in a 30-minute meeting, and I end with that question. I need a little more time for that. I wouldn't necessarily do it in a 30-minute connection code, but the responses I have gone to that have built relationships for life with me. Because the very first time I asked that question to a woman I had never met, she ran a very large real estate office here in Manhattan Beach. She's a dear friend today. She said the biggest challenge I have ever overcome in my life is my son died at 2 weeks old from a heart condition. And it just leveled me. And of course, I'm a mom, so I get emotional. I get teary eyed. She gets teary eyed. We have a moment, sitting across from a sandwich together. And when we ended that meeting, she walked over to me and hugged me. And she said, I don't know what just happened, Cindy, but I feel like I just met my new best friend. And that's a true story. And 30 days later, she invited me in to meet her top 30 realtors into her office and have a meeting with them. And that came from one meeting with connection to conversion. And that's the power of getting out of here and getting intentional about really how we connect with people on a deeper level. And
Wow.
that's what I'm passionate about teaching.
What a powerful call this has been. There's been a lot of incredible feedback, and no one better than Cindy at connecting deeply with people in really authentic, meaningful ways and doing it at scale. And by the way, guys, that comes because of her code. Like, she has a code, and I've got to know some of it over the years. Like, she's a sun person. Like, if you meet Cindy, yes, she has a beautiful smile, but there is just a brightness within her that words do not describe. Like, and so she's a sun person. I know she is someone that forgives. She lives a life of always better, never bitter. And she's had to deal with things that would have been easy to be bitter about. By the way, we all do. So I do want to push everyone. If you want to make sustainable changes and kill it in life personally and professionally, you've got to know your code. So I put a link, it's free, to the manuscript that I'm writing. Savage Code is currently, it's gone from Know Your Code to Savage Code, but who knows what it will be when it gets published. Please make sure that you follow Cindy, follow her on social media. She's incredibly valuable. There'll be
Love
a
that.
number
Thank
of
you, David.
links.
And anybody can go to cindyrtman.com. There's a schedule a strategy call there. We can have a conversation too.
Yeah. And if you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be a link down below with all the master links. Todd Bookspan, Win by Noon Close. Let's go.
Well, we got some homework. Next Wednesday, the 1st, is going to be a busy day. You're going to be on a webinar with Cindy and then jump straight into Scriptapalooza. So block your calendar, be ready to go. However, you know what? You got a master class today in curiosity, communication, and then she used another word, consistency. And consistency starts by taking action today. And what I think you all probably need to do is one of the things that Cindy said is to call 5 people who are fans of you and ask for a referral, right? You all know I don't like cold calling, like warm calling, and Cindy gave you an easy way to do it, right? And so you have an opportunity to jump off of this call. And I would tell you, at least call one person, right? Like get the ball rolling and get some momentum. But I would challenge you to do all 5 that Cindy said. And of course, I also want to make sure that we get the Deborah Bird plug and play close. Deborah, what else do you want to send us off with?
I was going to say, sometimes we get so glued to our phones and our screens that take some time this weekend and go practice connect, go to the grocery store. Like I heard a stat this morning that said 75% of the food in restaurants is takeout. Like people aren't even going to restaurants anymore and just, having that fellowship. So start where it's a little bit easier and just go meet a stranger, go to a park, go take a dog on a walk, and just be curious enough to ask them questions and hear their story. And then, for the men listening, don't forget about the foreplay. Translation of what Cindy was talking about there. Before you go straight to the bedroom, you got to warm it up a little bit, ask those questions, get them to feel comfortable and share, and then you can go there. But you got to do the foreplay. That's
That's
the Deborah
exactly
Bird
why we have
special.
Deborah Bird close. That's exactly it right there.
So
These things
we
that I just
know,
won't and can't say.
yeah, that's part of her code, everybody. So I also share just a reminder, the mobile club, I have rebranded it, gone from Savage Insiders to Savage Code, because that's what it's all about. So if you have not already subscribed, every week I'm sending text messages that will help you professionally close more loans in this market and help you personally. Cindy Ertman, I appreciate you.
Thank
Until
you, my
next time.
friend. Thanks, Deb. So good to be with you.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'll too. Let's go. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and go
Have a great
USA.
week, y'all.
It's Riders Cup time. Let's go USA.